Today, we are back at John Coupe Flightners, located just outside Salem, Ohio, to take a look at this 1955 Chevy Bel Air. But first, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, cars that are off the beaten path. We dive in deep, give specs, period correct ads, and perceptions other channels simply don't. If that sounds like something of interest to you, subscribe, turn on the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. If you'd like to get in touch with me, there are a couple ways that are the best ways. One is leave a comment in the comment section. I read every single comment that I get. And get this, when you get a response, it's from me, not a computer, and it will always be that way. The second way is we made a Facebook page that correlates with this YouTube channel. There is no obligation to join, just making you aware that it's out there. The cool thing is the group gives you the opportunity to share your stories, memories, experiences, as well as rides on Facebook. If you have a YouTube channel, feel free to share it on there, because the end goal is to get more people, especially in the younger generations, to fall in love with the car hobby. The link is in the description. Also, if you like this video, if you like my channel, please give this video a like so more people can see this video in the future. Before talking about the Chevy Bel Air, let's talk about 1955 Chevy lineup. And the reason I break down the 50s vehicles like this is because in the 50s, generally, companies only had one main car, and then they trimmed it out differently. If you'd like me to do this for all the cars going forward, it gets hard in the 80s and 70s because car companies started offering all kinds of different car models. But in the 40s and 50s, it wasn't necessarily the case. In the comment section below, which way do you prefer? Do you prefer me just to talk about the featured car and nothing but the featured car? Or do you like it where I lay out all of the different vehicles that they offered during that year? Anyway, let's talk 1955 Chevy lineup. At the very top of the pyramid, Chevy's most expensive offering was the Corvette. And this year was a huge year because 1955 was the very first year for a V8 and the Corvette. It was their very first year for their overhead valve V8, which we will get to when we talk about the engine specs. Moving to the passenger lines, 3 trim levels on offer. The 150 was at the bottom of the barrel, and it's also worth pointing out that they offered different cars as well as different wagons in all 3 of these lines. 210 was in the middle. Del Rey was considered a 210 offering, as well as wagons. Bel Air is at the very top, and they offered the Bel Air as 2-door sedan, 4-door sedan, 4-door wagon, 2-door Nomad wagon, convertible, 2-door hardtop. Let's talk specs. Before moving on to the specs, let's talk about what the Chevy Bel Air was. It was a full-size car produced by Chevrolet for 1950 to 1975 model years. Initially, only the 2-door hardtops in the Chevy model range were designated with the Bel Air name. From 1950 to 1952, with the 53 model year, the Bel Air name was changed from a designation for a unique body shape to a premium level of trim applied across a number of different body styles. The Bel Air continued with various other trim level designations, and it went from a mid-level trim car to a budget fleet sedan when the U.S. production ceased in 1975. Production continued in Canada, though, for its home market only through 1981 model year. Chevy would go on to sell the Bel Air in 7 generations. 1955 falls in the 2nd generation, which ran from 1955 to 1957. Designed by Bill Mitchell. Built on the GM A-body platform. Let's talk specs. 195.6 inches long, 73 inches wide, 59 inches tall. Rides a wheelbase of 115 inches. Weighs 3,200 pounds. The price was $2,200, which would be equivalent to you spending $24,324.04 in the year 2022. And the reason I break all of that down is because if you buy one of these for $24,000 or less, you didn't spend any more than the guy that bought it in 1955. Total production for Chevy. Chevy had a stellar year in 1955. They sold 1,704,667 units, of which total Bel Air production was 770,955. I couldn't find a breakdown for V8 Bel Air's hardtop figures. They broke down the they broke down the six-cylinder figures, but not the V8s for some reason. Let's talk engines. Lots of different engines on offer, two six-cylinders as well as two V8s. All right, some conflicting information that has come to my attention that I'm going to broadcast on here. So, according to Wikipedia, 216.5 cubic inch displacement, Thriftmaster, 3.5 liters, is an engine that is offered in the Bel Air. But then when you cross-reference that, it is not offered in the Bel Air. It is offered in the light/medium duty trucks. So I'm just making a mention of it because I had it in my notes that it had it here. That's why you have to cross-reference stuff, because nothing is ever what it seems. So they offered two six-cylinders. One was a 235 inline six, 3.9 liters, making 125 horsepower at 3,800 RPM with a bore of 3.6 inches and a stroke of 3.9 inches. Compression was 7.5 to 1, had four main bearings. The block/crankcase is made out of cast iron, and it was fed with one single barrel carburetor. Moving to the next engine, which was also a 235 Blue Flame inline six, 3.9 liters, making 136 horsepower at 4,200 RPM, 209 foot-pounds of torque at 2,200 RPM. Bore is the same, 3.6 inches. Stroke is the same, 3.9 inches. Four main bearings. Compression, 7.5 to 1. One barrel carburetor. I'm not entirely sure what is different between these two engines. Maybe this engine has a slightly more radical camshaft. Maybe it has something to do with that. Before getting into all of the specs about the 265 V8, let's talk about it. So, to correct myself from earlier, Chevy actually made a V8, an overhead valve V8 back in 1918. It made 36 horsepower, but it was a 1 year only thing. 265 cubic inch displacement V8 was roughly based on the 1949 Oldsmobile Rocket 88 engine. The Chevy version was designed with the intent of being smaller, lighter, and more powerful than previous V8s in the auto industry. And this engine is Genesis for the small block Chevy family. It all started in 1955. It's all starting to sound almost like a fairy tale, right? Well, it wasn't without its problems. The new small block design had some problems, like pistons would crack. Crazy thing on this engine was there wasn't an integrated oil filter. External bypass filter was offered as an option. It could be installed by the factory or a dealership installed option. Oil filtration was an option. Those that did not choose to get an oil filtration system had to frequently change their oil. If you did opt for the oil filtration system, only part of the oil was filtrated. The issue was fixed in 1956. Also, to keep performance and gas mileage up, the ignition points, as well as spark plugs needed to be changed regularly. Moving on to the V8s. Two V8 flavors on offer. 265 cubic inch displacement, overhead valve V8, 4.3 liters, makes 162 horsepower at 4,400 RPM. 257 foot-pounds of torque at 2,200 RPM with a bore of 3.8 inches and a stroke of 3 inches. Compression 8 to 1, 5 main bearings. The block/crankcase is made out of cast iron and it is fed with a 2-barrel carburetor. Moving on to the last flavor of engine, which was a 265 cubic inch displacement overhead valve V8, 4.3 liters. It makes 180 brake horsepower at 4,600 RPM, 260 foot-pounds of torque at 2,800 RPM. The bore and stroke are the same, 3.8 inches on the bore, 3 inches on the stroke. Compression, couldn't find a compression number for this one, but 5 main bearings made out of cast iron, 2-barrel carburetor. 3 transmissions on offer, 3-speed manual synchro mesh unit that was the column shift unit, 3 on the tree, 2-speed power glide automatic, or the 3-speed manual with optional overdrive. All right, moving on to standard equipment. 1955, I'm not kidding you, 1955 was a big year for Chevy. They made the switch from 6-volt to 12-volt electrical system. Options, not getting into all of the options, just some of the ones that stuck out. Air conditioning, power windows, power brakes, power steering, power seats, automatic light dimmers, door handle protectors, spotlights. Coming up to this car, just notice how wide the door opens. It opens up nice and wide for just about any size person to get in there. Let's talk about the door panel. Two-tone color scheme. I love this trim piece that comes down here. It's very Ford-like the Crown Victorian look, how it dips down. It's funny how Ford and Chevy compare design languages, I should say. Like, there's different pieces, parts and pieces in the Thunderbird that look like they could be in the Corvette, and there's different pieces on Chevy cars that look like they could be part of Ford's cars. Anyway, armrest, door handle, whatever you use it for. Door handle to get out. This one has operated vent windows, and you always want to make sure that you unlock it. This one has a lock on it right here. So it's unlocked, so we can go ahead and crank her on open. This is the window crank for the big window. So notice how this is all trimmed out. On to the button switches and knobs, starting all the way to the left, headlights. Diagonal just to the right is the windshield wipers. Moving to the gauge cluster. At the top, there's two gauges. On the left-hand side is the temperature gauge. On the right-hand side is the fuel. Speedometer, which goes up to 110 miles per hour. Odometer in the center. This car has the 2-speed power glide automatic transmission. Drive select modes read park, neutral, drive, low, reverse. Ignition, up at a diagonal. Lighter, just below that are the climate controls. In the center is the in-car entertainment unit, aka radio. Behind the Bel Air script is a speaker. I'm pretty sure there's a speaker in there, which you can't see. I guess one could see it if they looked close enough. And then at the bottom, there's a really nice clock. All right, we're gonna get inside the Bel Air. Show you what it's like getting in here. It's actually relatively simple because there's lots of room to get in. If they were all this easy, it would be great. So I just want to show you, this could be an armrest, or most people put their arm out the window because the belt line is so nice and comfortable in this car that your arm just fits right here very nicely. Whereas like newer cars, it's like up here and it's not comfortable. This one's totally comfortable, arm out the window kind of car. This is the over the hood impression. This is what first person would look like. And notice I have lots of space underneath the steering wheel. There's lots of space there. Steering wheel's huge. It's probably a 20-inch wheel. I love this interior. This interior is awesome. I love the colors. I love the textures. It's very textured interior in here. Up here, sun visors. No courtesy mirrors. There is a really nice rear view mirror here where you can see me. Hi. Another sun visor here. No courtesy mirrors like mentioned previous. The seats are very textured. These seats actually remind me of the Kaiser Manhattan that we were in a couple months ago. On here, this is the emergency brake. This controls a vent located right here to allow cold air into, see it moving? That allows air into the cabin to blow down at your feet to make you cooler and make the driving experience a more pleasant one. Over here is the high beam switch on the floor where, in my opinion, it should be. Brake pedals here, gas pedal next to it. This looks like a tissue box dispenser. over here, there is another vent that it's right here. It's in the passenger side footwell. All right, onto the glove box test. Here is my camera. This is the cinematic camera that we use for all of the close-up shots of the dashboard. This is my hand for reference, so you can see how big this camera actually is. There's the glove box. If the camera doesn't fit in the glove box, it doesn't mean that it's a bad car. I just like showing different perceptions other people don't show. These glove boxes, like from the outside, that thing looks really small, but it's actually relatively big. So it doesn't fit. It's not gonna shut. It fits, but it doesn't shut. But, you know, I'm an outside the box kind of thinker. And, you know, if you're presented with a problem, there's always another solution. This camera comes apart. It's a mirrorless SLR, so you could take this lens off. So now this is the lens. The lens fits in just like that. This is the camera body, and I should have brought my cap. Because it's a mirrorless camera, it shuts the sensor off so it won't get any dust in it. But you should always put a cap on it. Yeah. See? So sometimes when you're faced with a problem, you have to look at another way around to get to the place that you're trying to get to. All right, getting in the rear. So these seats don't have a seat lock back, so one would just push the seat forward like that. And notice how the seat's designed. Look at how it has this big, but that's all the space you have to get in the back. That isn't that great. So here we go. I'll put one foot in here like that.
You look good back there.
Thanks. All right, so this is what it looks like in the back seat. I got lots of headroom back here. It was more of a struggle to get in here and I couldn't video it. Space looks like there's adequate room. The seat is very upright, as you can see by the profile here. Nice armrest in the back here, and just check out how these windows operate. So look at how big of a piece of glass that is. This window operates. Just like that, and it goes completely down. But notice that just a tiny bit sticks up right here in this divot. That's kind of cool. Two lights in the back here. There's a light here and there's a light over here. And notice this one has like, it's almost like a fake convertible top. It has these ribs like it would be a convertible. It's super cool. It makes it look really elegant. This is all chromed out. This is the rear shelf. Notice the wraparound windshield in the back. And that's what the rear view looks like. I'm going to show getting out of it because I didn't show getting in it. It might be easier getting out of it. I'm currently stuck. All right, I'm going to have to figure out a different way. It wasn't easy getting back here. Oh, it's like being reborn. But that's it. That's all the space that you have getting in and out of the back. All right. This is how much headspace I have in the front. Lots more headspace than in the back. I love how high the roof is in this car. You don't feel claustrophobic. The greenhouse is really nice. The greenhouse is really nice in a sense that there's a lot of glass in this car. So visibility shouldn't be an issue. And once again, this has a wraparound windshield. So the A pillar sits way far back here. All right, coming up here to the under the hood section. Just check this out. So this one's felt relatively simple to get under. Just right here, there is a little lever, and then you just push it, pull up. Hood's a bit heavy. I get this a lot in the comment section. I would much rather see these hinges on here than gas shocks, because these hinges look like the same hinges that have been on it for this car for its whole entire life, whereas gas hinges you have to keep replacing. I don't understand why you would want gas hinges. Gas shocks, I should say. But just take a look at this engine. So this one's got the oil filter up on top. Some people don't like it because it makes a mess. I think it's cool to have it more accessible up here, but that's just me. Oil bath, air filter. This one's got a generator, and notice the power steering pump is on the back of the generator, and it's driven from a shaft that goes in between. Check out the master cylinder, it's really small. On to the pros and cons. I'm getting all of these pros and cons from the Complete Book of Collectible Cars, 1930 to 2000, 70 years, by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. On the positive side, one of the most desirable collector cars out there, one of the most collectible Chevy passenger cars that was ever made, classic styling, great V8 performance, tremendous investment. Now for the cons, strong buyer competition for the good ones, so expect steep asking prices. Now it's time for Name That Tune. I am looking for the band and or artist, as well as the song title. First person to do that will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. I never really realized how organ heavy that song actually is. I'll leave you with a hint. It's a 60s song and group. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out, watching this, and until next time, toodaloo!